attractive option for us because it's light and bright and there's good parking, and many of our participants are older people, so the light, bright, and good parking is good for us. So we're just hoping that you can possibly lower the rent to make it more in line with what we're accustomed to paying. And so on the last page, I gave you a sheet that shows you the spaces that we want to rent, and then I attached the brochure they give out at the community center that tells you what the regular rates are for the space.
Your event last year, you paid $1,000 community?
Yeah, last year we were at the Hotel Colorado.
Okay.
And unfortunately, they cannot accommodate our dates this year. They had a long-term reservation for the weekend that we need.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Have you asked, are all of these rooms available?
They are, yes. And I've talked to the facilities manager, and she has it on hold until I get a response from council.
Okay.
Anything else we can give direction on? Or?
I would recommend that they just delegate it to me.
Okay.
It certainly is, you almost hate to set a precedent like that, but I would say that this is right in mud season. That time of year, that month of the year, it's after spring break, the ski area is closed, and it is really slow to the year.
We always schedule the tournament during low season, typically because our budgets are so low. That's the time where we can afford to get a good rate for the facilities rental, and also we negotiate a better rate for group rate for the hotel. And I have talked to the people at the Marriott properties that are right across the street from the community center about getting a group rate for there.
And how many people do you expect?
We always have over 100.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of those people would be staying in the hotel. Grand Junction people will all stay. Even a lot of the people that live in Basalt and Aspen will stay at the hotel because we play until 10:30 at night, start playing again at 9:30 the next morning.
So you anticipate more people this year than you had last year, roughly?
Not necessarily. Probably about static. I don't anticipate any big surge of people. We're always hoping.
I'd be fine. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, is this like a non-profit club, or is it?
It is, yeah. So the American Contract Bridge League is the big overseeing group, and then the whole country is divided. Well, excuse me, all of North America is divided into units, because it's not just the U.S., it's Canada and Mexico as well. And the units are all not-for-profit. We just exist to promote teaching and learning and playing bridge, and whatever small profits we make off of these tournaments, we just turn around and put it back into the unit, and we help support the clubs with their teaching programs and things like that.
Okay. Thanks.
I think, is this something that we can just refer to staff to take care of? Is this counter, or this is citizen council? I don't want to debate this. Right. I mean, for this amount of money, this is a staff issue.
Yeah, we're not debating it.
Not yet. I'm sure we'll get there.
If it was delegated to me, I'd probably approve that, even though I think it's a scary precedent. It's not delegated to me, it's just delegated to her.
Yeah, I'd be fine asking Deborah to work. Deborah, figure our city manager work with you on this, and
I have not heard this before, so I know none of the details, but.
Okay. I would again personally be also in favor of the reduction. I understand the potential precedent setting, but I don't know. I given all the parameters of this, it's mud season, it's a non-profit organization, it is a net promotion to bringing people into town in terms of hotels and restaurants and stuff. I would be in favor of it, but yeah, I would say if you could work with her on it.
I think it's kind of tourism they should chase.
Yes. And I think we should do it through the grants process so that we don't have people appearing before us every meeting asking for money or credits. No, I mean, it's a worthy cause. I just again, we'll have long meetings and everybody will become.
It is entirely, I believe, in my authority to make these kind of decisions, and I believe you guys don't want to get into the habit of doing this.
All right, that's right.
All right. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to us about any item not on this evening's agenda? Seeing none, I will close that and bring it back to council for any council comments. Rick.
Yeah, just briefly from the school, everything's going really well. I'd just like to point out that last Thursday's RAFTA meeting, and I don't know, Mike, if you were going to talk about this in your council, if not, I'll stand back. But, just a victory, I think, for the city of Glenwood, and the non-grade separated crossing. If we get to a South Bridge, I'd just like to acknowledge the work that went into that. Carl, Deborah, Mike, Jonathan, Terry, the higher engineering staff, saved $25 million. You probably didn't read about that in the paper, but very significant step along the way. And so thank you guys for what you did. I thought it was just an amazing sort of outcome that I think the mayor was quoted 3 or 4 years ago. That may not have been possible, but it was possible last Thursday, and a lot of work behind the scenes to make that happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
I just want to recognize Hannah for passing her American Institute of Planners test, which is a very rigorous national test. And the only reason I know it's rigorous is because she said she had to study a lot.
Thanks, Jonathan. Any other council comments? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. This evening's consent agenda consists of the following: receipt of minutes of the November 1st, 2018 regular meeting, Resolution 2018-58, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Glenwood Springs adopting the fiscal year 2019 municipal airport fee schedule, approval of the Cedar Crest subdivision water, drainage, and roadway design proposal, financing documents for bond issuance, ordinance number 25, series of 2018, and ordinance of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, approving a loan evidenced by sales and use tax revenue notes issued in one of more series to finance capital projects authorized by city electors in 2016, approving the note form and loan repayment from a pledge of sales and use tax revenues credited to the Acquisition and Improvement Fund, and providing other details, and approving documents related to the loan. This is the second reading on that ordinance. Also on the consent agenda is the Valley Marijuana Council Student Pass and amendment to the Colorado River Cooperative Agreement. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Can I make one comment?
Sure.
On the consent agenda, just on item E on the Valley Marijuana Council, the student pass. That was, that's going through on consent agenda, but it was, from the looks of the numbers, it was a very successful program. Hundreds of students took advantage of the free pass to the community center, and I'm really glad to see us fund that and hopefully fund it for next year, for this coming year too. So
500 students got a pass, and it was a pilot program that we want to make it continue. Council's good with it. Valley Marijuana Council definitely wants to continue to explore.
So thanks for implementing that and getting that going. Thanks.
All right. So we have the motion by Shelley and the second by Jonathan to approve the consent agenda. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is ordinance number 26, series of 2018, an ordinance of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, fixing and certifying the mill levy on the 2018 assessment for collection in fiscal year 2019 for the Glenwood Springs General Improvement District number 1980. you have any presentation on this item? Hi, Yvette.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The GID is pretty standard. There's no change in that. It's for the specific area downtown in the GID based on the property, assessed property values. This is preliminary numbers. We will have the final numbers in December. And this is just a housekeeping item. We have to certify to the county by December 15th of every year for a collection in 2019.
All right. Any questions for Yvette? All right. Thanks, Yvette. Is there anyone in the public who would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close it to public comment, bring it back to council for discussion and/or motion.
I'll make a motion. I would move to approve ordinance number 26, series of 2018, an ordinance of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, fixing, my vote thing just came up right in the middle of my screen. There you go, fixing and clarifying the mill levy on the 2018 assessment for collection in fiscal year 2019 for the Glenwood Springs General Improvement District, number 1980.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a tie vote on the second.
Yeah.
We have a motion by Todd and a second by Shelley to approve ordinance number 26, series of 2018. Any further discussion?
Can I make a quick comment
Sure.
on this? I'm going to vote in favor of this because apparently we don't have capacity to change the taxing in this district. But I would like us as a council, just in light of all the parking issues and discussions we're having downtown, I'd like us to revisit the exemption from development of parking in the GID and just to have a discussion about, is it appropriate to exempt that area from parking without getting any fee in lieu of the parking development as businesses expand, as buildings get redeveloped? Because right now, the only time we get new parking in downtown is if the government or someone like CMC or the library builds a building and they put parking underneath it. But yet, as buildings grow and expand and we want growth downtown, can we talk about that at some point?
That will certainly be another discussion. Yeah.
Great. I'd like to see that put on an agenda at some point as part of the parking discussion, possibly.
All right. Any further discussion? Let's go ahead and call that question.
They hit save. Oh. Teenager.
Early knock in there.
I didn't. I got it. I think. I want to just push my.
It was easier just to push a button. Now we gotta actually click on two things to vote. So. I know.
But my rotator cuff.
It's beyond this.
Get used to it.
Throw your back out.
Kirk, yes. Gordon, yes. Blake, yes. Campbell, yes. Davis, yes. Golders, yes. Motion passes.
All right. Next item, ordinance number 27, series of 2018, and ordinance of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, fixing and certifying the mill levy on the 2018 assessment for collection in fiscal year 2019. Do you want to give us a presentation on this one too? Thanks.
This one's a little different. This one has changed because we got the mill levy passed last week. So we used to have 3 separate mill levies we set for operating capital equipment and debt service. Those were now all rolled into the 6 mills that were approved. So now there is just 1 mill levy currently. There's 2.603 that's in perpetuity, an addition of 6 mills for a total of 8.603. So that has changed from past.
Okay. Any questions for Yvette on this one? Thanks, Yvette. Is there anyone in the public who would like to comment on this ordinance? Seeing none, I will close it to public comment, bring it back to council for discussion and/or a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. So this is ordinance 27, right?
Right.
So I would move to approve ordinance number 27, series 2018, an ordinance of the City of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, fixing and certifying the mill levy on the 2018 assessment for collection in fiscal year 2019.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Todd and a second by Rick to approve ordinance number 27, series of 2018, and ordinance of the City of Glen Springs, Colorado, fixing and certifying the mill levy on the 2018 assessment for collection in fiscal year 2019. Any further discussion? Let's go ahead and call the question.
Cook, yes. Voorhees, yes. Leahy, yes. Galma, yes. Davis, yes. Goldish, yes. Motion passes.
Do our votes no longer show up on there? They're there? Oh, there they are. Okay. Thanks. All right. Moving on. Planning item 16-18. This is consideration of rezoning 2 parcels located at 281 Centennial Street from mixed use M1 zone district to resort RE zone district. Hi, Hannah.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Get this going here. So before you, we have a rezoning request from Iron Mountain Hot Springs, which is the applicant and owner. We're looking at a proposal to rezone 2 parcels from mixed-use zone district to the resort zone district. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this application on October 23rd and voted unanimously 4-0 to recommend approval of the rezoning. P&Z also approved several variances, which you might have seen in your staff packet as part of that staff report, which are not in discussion tonight as they've already been approved. So this is an image of the area we're looking at. The large blue parcel there is the main operations of the hot springs. The 2 parcels that are being proposed for rezoning are right here in red, and that second one, smaller one. Currently, they are zoned the mixed use, and the Hot Springs is looking to have them rezoned to the same zoning district as the main Hot Springs operation, which is RE, or resort. Pardon me on this little slip up in this slide. It says, in reviewing a proposed rezoning, the Planning Commission shall. The Planning Commission did, and now the City Council shall, consider the following rezoning criteria. So the rezoning is consistent with City's comprehensive plan and code. Rezoning is consistent with the proposed purpose statement of the new zoning district. Substantial changes in the subject area warrant a change. And the intensity of development in the new zoning district is not expected to create significantly adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. So you can see in this image with the colors the different zones that are surrounding these 2 areas. We do have some mixed use development for the CDOT facility there to the west, and we have I-70 and the railroad bordering this property. Gave you an aerial image so you can see some of the other uses. As I mentioned, the CDOT facilities there, as well as a 5-story office building, the River District building, and 2 Rivers Park to the west. So for the comprehensive plan, I've included the image here. The area of both of these parcels is designated as commercial in our comp plan, so this wouldn't require a map amendment. And the proposed zoning of the resort zone is consistent with the commercial designation of the comp plan. I've given you a comparison here of the 2 zones, the M1, which is the existing mixed-use zone, and the proposed RE. And the purpose statement for the RE Resort District is intended to accommodate high-intensity commercial with flexibility in terms of allowable uses and dimensional standards. The RE District is intended to apply to properties that are relatively isolated from adjacent properties due to physical or natural features. So in discussion of the intensity of the new development, let's see here. The main differences between these 2 zones are going to be in that red highlighted area, so our maximum building height and our landscape area. The allowable building height would increase by 20 feet, so currently it's limited at 40 and it would go to 60, and the landscaped area that is required would be reduced by 5%. So most of the other things in these columns would be the exact same across these 2 zones. Given this, staff does not see that the intensity of development would impose significant impacts given some of the other characteristics of the property. So these are the 2 areas again. As you can see, I've just highlighted the I-70 corridor as well as the river. Just in discussion about this particular property, it does have some unique natural features that do separate it from most other properties. It sits a little bit below the I-70 corridor, and the Highway 6 corridor would be looking down upon it. And you have some separation that is provided by the Colorado River as well as the rail yard. So fitting with the definition of resort zone district. I've provided some images just to give you a comparison as far as building height in the area. So I've circled some of the buildings here. This is the hotel, which is a 60-foot tall building. We have the CDOT facilities. This is one of their outbuildings, close to 60 feet, if not at. And then we also have the office building that's adjacent to these two parcels being proposed for rezoning, that's also at 60 feet. So I only bring this up to give you an idea of the surrounding area. Planning and Zoning Commission did, stop a little bit and think about the 60-foot height allowance. That always seems to be something to discuss. This is a couple other views from I-70. You can see the Hot Springs building there on the top, and some of the CDOT facilities as well. I included in your staff report kind of an overview of the different uses that are going to be allowed or prohibited in the new zone. And in summary, overall, the new resort district is more restrictive for commercial activities, which matches the stated intent of the zone. So the uses that are more permissive in a resort district zone would be a golf course, a country club, a flea market, and a swap meet. All of the other areas that are highlighted in yellow have become more restrictive. So the new zone does not allow as much commercial activity as their current zoning.
So they can't have backyard chickens. That's what it says.
No backyard chicken.
Mr.
Sorry.
Mayor, that was not on my test today. I do not know the answer. So the action item before you again is rezoning of the two parcels from mixed use zone to the resort zone. Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval, and staff is supporting the rezoning request with the following findings, as mentioned in your staff report. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thanks, Hannah. Any questions for Hannah?
Are we doing these one at a time like this as we go? Or am I missing something?
Well, we gotta go take public comment and everything before we.
I mean, okay.
Yeah, and then as far as action items, do we have to do them all separately or?
This,
I prefer to take zoning separate from everything else.
I thought this was the
It
only
is just
action
one
item.
action item. It's just a rezoning.
Oh, just
the rezoning.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Those are just the findings.
I think we're just rezoning.
Because on what Todd is looking at, there's 3 action items.
That might be the Planning and Zoning staff report that you're looking at. They had an additional 3 variances,
we've got to deal
which the variances
Okay.
are approved by Planning and Zoning, so you don't need to
I got you.
get in the weeds with them.
All right.
A quick question, Hannah.
Yes.
There was some discussion in the packet about a sign that may need to be relocated, and I didn't see any photographic evidence in your excellent presentation about where that sign sits now, and can you take us through that real quick?
Sure, and the sign was actually one of the variances granted by Planning and Zoning
Okay,
Commission.
So you want to wait till we get to that then?
And so it's
That's
not
not part of.
it's not a part of the
That's
only
not-
action item for City Council tonight is the rezoning of the 2 parcels, and the 3 action items that were included in the staff report that I presented to P&Z were variances that have been decided.
Okay, those are done.
Those are done.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Hannah? Would the applicant like to make any comments?
Good evening, Mowgli Cooper, Carbondale. Well, thank you for considering this. If you have any questions of me, otherwise, I don't really have any comment.
Anyone have any questions for Mowgli? Thanks, Mowgli.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank
Mark.
you.
Is there anyone in the public who would like to comment on this item? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to council for discussion and/or motion.
Shall we speak on it there.
Go ahead, Shelley.
I was just going to say, after reviewing this and looking at the area where it's located, and especially the fact that it's lower, and the fact that, you know, if we're going to grow and provide this, you know, provide for expansion of commercial opportunities and housing, we're gonna have to grow up and not out. So I don't see an issue with the 60-foot height, which is the main change with this zoning. So I was going to go ahead and make a motion if I can, and I move that we uphold the Planning and Zoning recommendation to approve the rezoning with the suggested findings of 1 through 4. Do I have to read each one?
No, you can just say on what page of the
on
packet.
Page 100 of the submittal packet.
I'm seeing them on page 3 of our packet.
Well, I'm on the big packet.
Yeah,
that you download. So I can read each one if you'd like, with suggested findings as provided by staff. 1, the rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan's commercial designation. The rezoning is consistent with the RE Resort District's purpose statement. Substantial changes in the subject area warrant a zoning change. And the 4th one is the intensity of the new zoning district is not expected to create significantly adverse impacts to the surrounding properties, as it is in line with the existing uses and building mass.
All right, thanks, Shelley. We have a motion by Shelley. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Shelley and a second by Todd to approve the rezoning request with the findings as stated. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and call the question. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.
All right, next item on the agenda is ordinance number 28, series of 2018, and ordinance vacating portions of First and Maple Streets related to planning item 27-17.
Yeah. Hey, good evening, Mayor, City Council, excuse me, Trent High with Community Development here, and I don't have a presentation for you tonight in so much as just the ordinance that's included in your packet. If you remember back in April, you considered the request to vacate these portions of the First and Maple Street rights-of-way, and there were a couple of conditions attached to that approval. Mainly being that the applicant was to work with staff to understand the necessary width of an easement for the city to get through this right-of-way in the future and the exact location thereof. After the meeting in April, we met with the applicant on site as well as with folks from Public Works, and we decided on a good spot and 20-foot width, actually in a location that would not affect the property owners to the south of the Howders block there, and it would be more on their property that includes the conservation easement. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Reason why you're kind of hearing this on the action as an action item tonight, as opposed to like a second reading or just on the consent agenda, is because if you remember that time, staff had actually recommended denial, so we didn't have an ordinance ready for you at that time. We'll provide it to you now that we've got all the easements and documents prepared. But if you got any questions, be happy.
Any questions for Trent? We're all set to go. You guys are good with this?
I think we probably do need to open it up for a public comment, just in case, but.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Trent.
Okay.
I don't see an applicant here for this. So is there anyone in the public who would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll close it to public comment, bring it back to council for discussion and or motion.
I would move to approve ordinance number 28, series of 2018, ordinance vacating portions of First and Maple Streets. Planning item number 27-17.
Second.
We have a motion by Todd and a second by Shelley to adopt ordinance number 20, series of 2018, in accordance with the City Council's April 4th, 2018 approval of the associated road vacation request. Any further discussion? All right, let's go ahead and call the question.
Cobb, yes. Voorhees, yes. Leahy, yes. Gamble, yes. Davis, yes. Goldish, yes. Motion passes.
All right.
Thanks, Trent.
Thanks, Trent.
Next item is an IGA and easement agreement for the Southbridge Corridor crossing. Do we have a presentation on this? You want me to give it?
I was going to say, most of you guys are there. So this is an easement, IGA and easement agreement for the Southbridge crossing of the Rio Grande Trail. As you will recall, during the EIS process, the RAFTA had requested that that crossing be done in such a way that it maintained the current grades of the Rio Grande Trail, which implicated an at-grade crossing for our road crossing the trail. But what that really did then is meant that because of the grade changes at that location, it meant that we had to do grade separated crossing of Highway 82, which is about $25 to $30 million for us to do that. It was almost doubling the cost of the project, and really pretty much was the end of the project. We couldn't find another solution. Over the last several months, Deborah has worked tirelessly, as has Shelley and the mayor and Jonathan, to kind of negotiate and get everybody on the same page on the RAFTA board, so that I can prepare an easement agreement that everybody can agree to. Whereas we were crossing this at what will eventually be, if rail service or some other transportation use were to come alive on that corridor, would be crossing it as a grade separated crossing, depressing that rail grade underneath our road so that we can maintain an at-grade crossing or an at-grade connection to Highway 82. So that's really what this is. In terms of the obligations of the city underneath the easement agreement, there's two major obligations. One is to create that grade separated crossing of the rail corridor if at some point in the future a transportation use is reactivated on the corridor, but we are capping sort of our expected costs for that in terms of what it would take to reactivate freight in the condition that it is today, meaning no rails, there's no signage, it's just basically it's lowering that elevation. The other one is providing defense costs should somebody challenge that we are severing the corridor underneath the rail banking statute. I will tell you that Bill Mullins, who is STB, or is regulatory counsel on issues like Surface Transportation Board for RAFTA, opined publicly at the meeting that this agreement was fully consistent with federal law and should not trigger any kind of severance claim, and even if it did, it was a fully defensible agreement that we would be successful on. The good news with Bill Mullins is he used to work for the STB, and so this is kind of his bailiwick. So I do have a tendency to trust his opinion on those. It was also reviewed by our regulatory counsel, Eric Hockey, out in Philadelphia, who works for us on these kind of issues. So with that, I'm recommending that you guys approve it. It was approved by RAFTA at the board meeting on Thursday, and I really want to make sure that we publicly thank RAFTA for working with us on this and getting it done. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Carl. Any questions for Carl on this item? I know one of the also requirements is that if, you talked about it, the severance.
Yeah.
If someone were to bring an action against RAFTA to claim that the right-of-way is severed, that we would indemnify or defend the corridor against that claim, and it's highly unlikely. I mean, for someone to do that, they would have to have a lot more dollars and cents, I think, from the standpoint that.
defense costs would be significantly less than $25 million.
Yeah. But it's just, I mean, it would be one of those fairly frivolous lawsuits from the standpoint that...
I think everybody involved is, everybody involved is pretty comfortable that this is an agreement that is consistent with federal law, that is completely defensible. I just really don't see that as being an issue, honestly, and I think something that could certainly be dealt with relatively quickly in the federal courts.
All right, any other questions before I open it up for public comment? Is there anyone in the public who would like to comment?
Well done.
Thanks, Christian.
Deborah. I just wanted to say thank you all very much for all of your help with this. And Carl is way too modest. When I say, please do something that's impossible, he sighs and gets it done. So thank you. And thank you, Terry, for not giving up and forcing the rest of us not to give up.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. I will close it to public comment, bring it back to council for discussion and or motion.
It's a pretty historic motion. I think the people who were on the council earlier should probably be the people that make the motion, and we'll all vote for it. So.
Go ahead, Mike. You're the right guy, Mike.
Want me to do it?
You don't ever get to make motions.
I would move that we approve the intergovernmental agreement between the City of Glenwood Springs and the Roaring Fork Transportation Authority to acquire easements and develop transportation infrastructure.
Second.
We have a motion by myself and a second by Jonathan to approve the IGA between the City of Glenwood Springs and the Roaring Fork Transportation Authority regarding the South Bridge crossing. I am going to just make one comment, and I do want to thank RAFTA staff and the RAFTA board. This was approved unanimously by the RAFTA board. I know I was quoted in the paper as saying that this probably wouldn't have happened, as Rick said earlier tonight, 4 years ago. I certainly don't take any credit for that change in the relationship between RAFTA and Glenwood Springs. It's been a team effort by city staff and RAFTA staff, and we have definitely moved the needle, at least in regard to our relationship with them, and I anticipate, at least I'm optimistic that we will maintain that positive relationship moving forward. Shelley?
I was just going to say something similar. Again, a thank you to our city attorney, Carl Hanlon, and working with the other attorneys with RAFTA and with Bill Mullins. It's a fantastic achievement. I'm really excited about seeing Terry get the EA approved and signed off, and that will be another big day that we can look forward to. And I'm very thankful that we had 100%, unanimous approval from the RAFTA board on this IGA, and I do put that to you, Mr. Mayor, and staff for working on improving that relationship with RAFTA and seeing the partnerships that we've accomplished in the last year in the 8th Street crossing and with the bridge project and all of the confluence work there, and now with this agreement. I think it's a big step forward, and it's nice to see us maintain that rail corridor at the same time. So I will definitely vote in favor of this IGA.
Thank you, Shelley. Any further discussion? Let's go ahead and call the question. Next item is a letter agreement with RAFTA regarding transfer of easement rights in the Y area.
All right. So this is a really short letter agreement. You guys will recall that we approved an agreement in form with the months ago to get them out of the Y area. Since that time, a couple of things have happened. They were in a hurry, and then they forgot to send it to environmental, and so that took a long time. And so they finally got back to us. But one of the things they needed, there were two agreements that affect the Y area that include RAFTA. One is the railroad easement itself, and the other one is what's called the joint use agreement. The letter agreement in front of you tonight simply acknowledges that we're going to be, as to the west leg, the leg that RAFTA continues to own. We own everything else in the Y area now. As to that section, that once UP transfers those interests to us, that we will go ahead and transfer them to RAFTA as the owner of that section of rail. And that the reason for that is that was part of, we needed to get their consent to the assignment of those two agreements from the UP. We anticipate that we will close on that transaction. Finally, got signatures back from everybody that we will close on that on probably on Monday now, because I need to wire funds tomorrow. Or rather, you guys need to wire funds. But anyway, so that's just wrapping up the last details on that, and hopefully, officially on Monday, the Union Pacific Railroad will no longer be in the Y area in Glendon Springs.
All right, any other questions for Carl on this one? All right, is there anyone in the public who would like to comment on this one? Mr. Public.
We can't help but win sometimes.
All right. Well, I'm getting tired of winning.
Yeah, let's keep moving.
Okay. I will close it to public comment and bring it back to council for discussion and or motion.
So we just need a motion to sign to approve
the letter of agreement.
Approve the letter of agreement.
And authorize me to sign it. Yeah.
So I would move to approve the letter of agreement between the Roaring Fork Transportation Authority and the City of Glenwood Springs regarding transfer of easement rights in the Y, and have Mayor Michael Gamba sign the letter on behalf of the city.
We have a motion by Todd. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion by Todd and a second by Jonathan to approve the letter of agreement between Roaring Fork Transportation Authority and the City of Glenwood Springs regarding transfer of easement rights in the Y area, and authorizing myself to sign the agreement or the letter. Any further discussion? Let's go ahead and call the question.
I don't have anything. It's not popping up.
Are you doing screen?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Try again. I'm logged in.
Where's Roxy?
Hold on. Yes. Can I just do that?
Okay, I have everybody else.
Just go ahead and pop it up. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Carter, yes. Voorhees, yes. Leahy, yes. Gamble, yes. Davis, yes. Goldish, yes. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Next item is the appointment of the Housing Commission. Hi, Hannah.
Thank you, Mayor. So as we discussed in a previous work session, I'm bringing you the appointments, 5 possible appointments to the Housing Commission. Sean Nesbitt with CMC, Director of Facilities. Brendan Matthews with First Bank, he's the Executive Vice President. Sumner Schachter, who you know well, is on Planning and Zoning Commission and a financial advisor. Catherine Grosscup is also on Planning and Zoning Commission and works for the Colorado Housing Finance Authority, is a tax credit officer. And Steve Beckley, the owner of Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park, have all thrown their hat into the ring to join this commission and are seeking your appointment. We're doing this a little without the interviews that you're normally used to, as you guys have already tasked the Housing Commission to look at a couple of things, and these members have been a part of the informal Housing Committee for just about a year now, and are fairly well versed and have shown dedication to this topic area. So I leave it up to you for their official appointment.
Thanks, Hannah. Any questions for Hannah in regard to this?
So Hannah, per your memo, that would leave 2 open positions to be filled. Is there an alternate on that board that we would fill also? Would that be 3 seats?
I didn't see, in the code, it just references 7 citizens.
Okay.
So
Would that
I'm actually...
require a code change, Carl, to appoint a 1 or 2 alternates to the Housing Commission?
It probably would, but I think we have a number of those that we just need to clean up. So go ahead and appoint, and we'll match the code.
We don't have applicants at this point. Just so it'd be a future thing. Okay. And I was talking earlier with Jen, and I know everyone on here, and that's great. And so I think foregoing the standard interview process is, at least from my perspective, I'm comfortable with that. I would like to have relatively soon, before we get too far down the road, a short work session with the Housing Commission so we understand where they're coming from and they understand where we're going, and we can all identify our goals and priorities and hopefully be heading in the same direction at the same time.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Do you look like you have something you want to say?
No, I was just trying to imagine that we would understand where we're going.
Well, I'm in a handbasket.
That's another day. That's
I'm
another
in a
day,
handbasket,
Steve.
and the temperature's getting really warm. So that's where I'm going. Right. Yeah. Okay. Any further questions, comments? I don't know that we necessarily need to open this up for public comment, but would Mr. Public like to comment on this item?
He would not.
Okay. All right. Seeing that, I will bring it back to council for a motion.
Before we get to the motion, is this something that we're going to assign a council liaison to, or is this going to be sort of a
I
free-floating
believe
group?
there is already a liaison, Councillor Kaup.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm the alternate.
See that in the
Is that
agenda,
right?
so
I'm sorry?
Am I the alternate liaison?
Possibly, I'm not sure. Are you the alternate?
I might, maybe I'm not, but I kind of thought I was.
Okay.
I mean, we did it as a when this commission comes back,
Right.
then, so we may not have
Okay.
selected an alternate for a commission that didn't really exist again.
Right. Okay. So I would entertain a motion to appoint the slate of candidates to the City Housing Commission.
Reinstate the Housing Commission. I'll so move. Should I read them off by name? Or the 5 candidates per the staff memo, staff report to council: Sean Nesbitt, Brendan Matthews, Sumner Schachter, Catherine Grosscup, and Steve Beckley. And that will leave 2 open seats. Plus, it sounds like we will add 1 alternate to the board.
Yep.
Second that?
All right, we have a motion by Shelley and a second by Rick to appoint the slate of members to the Housing Commission. Any further discussion? let's go ahead and call the question. I think Jonathan will get a... You're not getting it?
No.
The computer's trying to work you guys down so you don't have a quorum so you can go home.
Yes. Did you try reloading your page? Did you hit the little
I'll try that.
reload button?
But yes, I vote for this.
Harp yes, Borges yes, Leahy yes, Gamba yes, Davis yes, Goldish yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thanks, Hannah. All right, next item on the agenda is the Parks and Rec Commission. So I think based on the recommendation of the Parks and Recreation Commission themselves, they would like us to appoint James Fosnot as a permanent member of the board, or is that what it's called? And then we have 2 candidates that came and interviewed with us today, and we have 2 open seats as alternate members of the board. And I would suggest that we appoint all those by acclamation. So the members would be, we can get there. Hold on here, sorry, trying to find. Andy Johnson, or Andrea Johnson, and Thomas Gorman would be the 2 members who we interviewed today for the alternate positions, and then we appoint James Fosnot as a permanent member.
Second.
All right. So we have a motion by myself and a second by Steve Davis to appoint James Fosnot as the permanent member and Andrea Johnson and Thomas Gorman as the alternate board members to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Any further discussion on that one? All right, let's go ahead and call the question. Still not getting it?
No, I got it. I just logged out and re-logged in, and now I'm good.
Oh,
Harp
okay.
yes, Borges yes, Leahy yes, Gamba yes, Davis yes, Goldish yes. Motion passes.
All right. Next item is report from city manager.
I have 2 items, and they're kind of the same. We're going to get the 7th Street bids back towards the end of this month. We were wondering if you wanted to hold a special meeting on that, or just have it as part of a regular agenda.
Do you know the date specifically that we will be getting them back?
I do not. I just know at end of the month. So it won't be enough time to turn around for the December 6th meeting, because we do have to do due diligence. So the options we're looking at is, if you want to do a special meeting, maybe the second week in December, and then potentially canceling the second council meeting, because it's on December 20th, and I think that's going to be hard for
Yeah, I'm going to be gone.
a lot of people.
Close to.
But I do think we have to get to 7th Street.
Yeah. I'd be fine having a special meeting.
When would that special meeting be?
The second week of December. I haven't pulled any of your schedules or anything like that. I know we don't want to wait until January.
Second Thursday, just a week after that first meeting of the month.
That works good for me because I'm going to be gone from the 18th to like the first
A
almost.
lot of people are traveling, getting out a little early because Christmas is close to the.
So it'd be sometime between the 10th and the 14th.
Yeah, the 13th would be the Thursday.
Yeah, that would be, from my standpoint, that would be.
That works for me.
That would work for me.
I have a Rafted board meeting that morning, but I'm trying to.
So are you suggesting a work session or a special council session?
A special meeting, because you have to make a decision on the bids.
Yeah. Is that what's contemplated?
Mm-hmm. And then take care of any other business if we had to, because we'll cancel the next Thursday meeting. Okay.
There shouldn't be much else. It's kind of slowing down as we get towards Christmas.
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
So that works.
is everyone here in town? I mean, I'll check with Jim, but is everyone here in town? Because I think it's important that you're all here. Okay.
We obviously need to check with Jim to see if he will be here or not, but
I will text him. Okay, so we will bring back an ordinance at the next meeting, a resolution canceling this. Yeah. Okay, that's all I got.
okay. All right, Carl, do you have anything?
I have nothing to say.
All right, boards and boards, committees, and commission meetings. Anyone have anything they want to report?
I do. We had Park and Rec Board last night. The Park and Rec Board accepted the resignation of our youth member, Harrison Cooley. Harrison joined Park and Rec on the youth position as a one-year term. And Harrison has just served his 4th year in that one-year term, which is, I think, is a testament to him. He did a great job bringing a different perspective to that board. Harrison is an Eagle Scout, and I think is going to go a long ways in this world. So I really appreciate his involvement in that. It was, I remember well, and I couldn't tell you what it was, but Harrison at 14 years old, in about his second meeting, made a motion on his own before that board. And yeah, that's always stuck in my mind, because sometimes it's hard to just ad-lib a motion, and particularly if you're, you know, at 14 years old. So, but anyway, Harrison stood down last night because he said he's no longer a youth, he just turned 18. And so we have an opening for that youth position, and Harrison recommended that we not advertise for that in the newspaper, but we advertise for it on Snapchat. Because there would be a greater opportunity to fill that position in that regard.
Does anybody know how to use that?
We have a Snapchat city account?
Yeah, I got it right here.
I'm not even sure what that means.
But I can't.
But he also recommended that we put that out to the high school, and I guess through DECA or something at the high school, they would actually get credit and would step into that position. Hopefully we would turn that position every year, but I think it never came up in conversation, and Harrison always appreciated sitting on a board, so that's neat. We talked about some other things, but yeah. It was really not worth bringing up at this late hour.
Harrison is graduating this spring, and he will be going on to other things.
Yeah.
Well,
so I appreciate it, and I give recognition to Harrison
I would
for doing that.
like to acknowledge him as well. It's great to see young people step up and do those kinds of things, and he sounds, I've never met him, but he sounds like a upstanding young person.
Yeah.
So.
I'm streaming this on Snapchat right now.
Oh, excellent. So now the 15-year-old crowd out there is going to know what we're doing.
There we go.
All right. Any other boards and commission?
I'll speak to River Commission. We met and Steve was there too, so Steve, feel free to chime in. But the only thing I can remember that we asked about was the status of the riparian ordinance. We had the work session on that, and Carl, I think there was a question for you when we had the work session with River Commission. We kind of remembered that we were thinking it was possibly in your court to reword it and bring it back to council. So just, there was a question of when that might. Okay. Yes.
It's on the list.
Okay.
I'm not being
so if that comes back,
it's just in terms of where we were at on it.
Okay.
It is.
But it is on your list.
It's on my to-do list.
Okay.
Definitely.
Awesome.
So yeah, we're getting there. And I'm going to be attending, I think, the River Commission meeting next month to talk about some of the ongoing water rights cases.
Oh, great.
So in my head, I just kind of had it. I probably, as long as I was there, I could chat about that.
Bring back a draft or something. Okay. And then the other thing was the Arts and Culture Board has been meeting. They've had a good first year. They would love to have a work session with council. They're very interested in just raising awareness of arts, and they've got some other ideas that they might want to request some funding for. One of the things they've been requested by the Post-Independent is to do a monthly article on just arts things in town. Just again, raising awareness. It's kind of talking about, they'll highlight different things. They're going to make a whole list of issues they'd like to talk about in the arts community. So I think it's a good group. They're very enthused, and be nice to see this pick up steam and keep moving forward.
Any bronze statues in our future?
No bronze statues, although they do want to, part of the funding request that they want to talk about with council is to set up an actual like city process for doing public art and maintaining it, and you know what that would look like. I don't think we have a formal process in place. But.
I know I try to be humorous about that, but if any of you happen to be going over to the Denver area, just take a drive through Golden. And you know, I was at an event over there this last weekend, and I actually met and spoke with the Mayor Pro Tem of Golden for half an hour or so at the event, and all their statues that they have throughout town, and they have kind of a Western theme. They have Indians and cowboys and those kinds of things, and some historic characters, but they're all bronze type statues, very high quality, and they are all commissioned, if you would, by their arts commission in Golden. And I asked them if they have a big benefactor that pays for them. He said, no, the city pays for them, so it's kind of impressive, because some of those I would anticipate are not inexpensive, but it is really a I don't know. I think it speaks to the character of Golden, whereas I've always felt that our art in Glenwood has been completely out of context for the city of Glenwood.
And this group has some ideas on that. They have some expertise, a couple of the members, on doing public art in other places, and they did talk about if they were given some enough money to actually create a plan and a process for the city, they might be able to have some direction on what type of character and what type of what defines Glenwood as far as public art, and then how would you go about choosing it? And part of what they've talked about in other cities is, rather than purchasing it, they actually commission artists to, they're displaying that art, and it might be for sale, but it's displayed temporarily, so the artist kind of puts it out there for display. It's part of our public art, but and it's more of a temporary display, so that would constantly be evolving. There's just some ideas, so they're looking forward to a work session. And we'll go from there.
Thank you. Rick, did you?
Yeah, just real briefly, I liaised with our Tourism and Promotion Board on Tuesday.
Did you calm them down?
Well, they are ready to pick up, I think, and move on, and so I took that.
Does that mean move away, or?
Move upward, I should have said. They're looking at their reserves and thinking about sort of
spending them.
A new sort of targeting, and looking at the possibility of either targeting Houston or Dallas as sort of a destination. Well, Glenwood would be the destination. They would be the recipients of the targeting. And so You'll probably hear some more about this. I think Lisa's going to come and make a presentation here at some point, maybe after the first of the year. And so they're looking at about a $200,000 campaign, or up to a $200,000 campaign using their reserves. And so I'll be really interested to see what they come up with. There's a firm that's working with them called Zuma, who is a group that sort of serves as the, you know, the spearhead for the marketing efforts, and so what could they do for that? And the thinking is, because there are direct flights from Houston and Dallas to this area during ski season anyway, and to Eagle and Aspen, that might be money well spent. So I think they're willing to, you know, to listen to direction of, you know, from the council. So looking for that discussion. They also announced that Glenwood, and you probably had a chance to vote for this too in your email. I know Lisa sent out the link periodically, but Glenwood was voted the best outdoor adventure town in the United States. And I believe there'll be a press release that's forthcoming. We beat out Durango, and I think there was a lot of sort of work kind of behind the scenes to get people to vote, but I thought that was a real positive. There's a couple new videos that they have commissioned, one on fly fishing and one on mountain biking, and those will be available. Mountain biking is, I don't know if it's you coming down the Grandstaff Trail,
Probably
Mike,
not.
But it's somebody just buzzing down the trail.
Someone a lot more aesthetic looking than me coming down the trail.
Yeah, there's some real technique to that trail. So, and there were 90 people at the Hot Springs Conjunto, I guess, the convention that Hotel Colorado had a big hand in staging, along with Iron Mountain Hot Springs, and so that was, I think, a very positive thing too. So, anyway, more as it develops. Just a quick report of what's happening, and I think that we're moving forward. So,
great, thanks, Rick. Todd?
I don't have anything.
The only thing I have to report is what happened at the RAFTA board meeting that we already discussed today. RAFTA board unanimously adopted the IGA to allow us to build the South Bridge project without a grade separated highway interchange, and saving us between $20 and $30 million on that project. And they also agreed to our letter of agreement on accepting the conveyance of the Y railroad easement, and we're getting along very well with RAFTA, so that's a good thing. I did not attend the Transportation Commission meeting. I don't know if Jonathan, you by any chance did?
I did. We talked about something.
Transportation.
Yep.
Well, let me think about it. Well,
yeah, I'm sorry.
Steve, did you have anything else?
Well, I'm going to just add that in Park and Rec, we actually had an agenda item to discuss whether it should be unlawful to operate a hang glider or paraglider. And it was an interesting conversation, and I guess that before something like that is adopted, it's going to come back to council for further discussion on that.
Well, so we want to outlaw paragliding in Glenwood?
That's exactly what this says. Is added to park rules on acts that are prohibited, and it was, not so much for the commercial paragliders, but for private paragliders. And so anyway, that'll be an interesting conversation at council too, I think. Mm-hmm. I suggested if they, we really ought to promote outdoor activity in sports, and if you start deciding which sport you're not comfortable with, maybe the first one is rafting and rock climbing and maybe bicycling. So I don't know where you draw that line and say, well, but I'm not comfortable with paragliding, so.
Are people, do you have any idea what is the basis for this?
I think the concern, and we've taken a look at, we've been working with my office, and working with Brian, you know, there was some concern about the launches off Lookout that are landing in kind of, you know, the stretch along the river where the commercial paragliders land as well. You know, I think we kind of went through the same analysis that from a liability standpoint, it's not any different than a recreational rafter pulling out at two rivers.
Or putting in, and are we going to start telling them they have to wear a PFD, or you have to wear a helmet when you're
bicycling? So I don't know from our standpoint, I mean, we were looking at a small slice just on the legal implications, but I think we kind of landed on, no pun intended, you know, just kind of leaving things as is for right now. You know, maybe posting some safety regulations down in the landing zone about what you should be thinking about.
And even though that was the recommendation coming out of your firm, the Park and Rec Board actually made a motion and went in the opposite direction. And it surprised me.
I'll have to have a conversation with James about that.
So they
well, he voted no.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Or Andy. The rest of the board
with Andy Mueller
voted to ban private paragliding.
Oh, really?
Or to at least have, like you would have to come to the city to get a permit special for that. You know, and I of course was not at all. I think we ought to promote sports, and just because you don't want to paraglide doesn't mean that it's bad, really. I think we've had more tragedy on the rivers than we have from the paragliding community, and the fact that 25 years, I think, that we've been paragliding in this community, there hadn't been a single fatality. There has been one injury that I know of, and John Goss gave up paragliding, but he's fine today.
Right.
So, I don't know, I thought it was an odd move in a direction that doesn't really promote tourism. In fact, I think we ought to have a paragliding festival and invite people to come to town.
I would concur. It seems very odd that we would want to. I mean, I could guarantee that the potential for an accident going down the Grandstaff Trail. I mean, I've never paraglided. I don't like to get off the ground even in a big jumbo jet a lot, you know, and so, but one bad move on a mountain bike and you're in some serious trouble. And
right.
And we're building those trails.
Yeah, we're building those trails precisely. So I don't see. I mean, I'm a horrible skateboarder. You put me on a skateboard out at the skate park, I guarantee I'll probably crack my head open.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I shouldn't have the right to do that if that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So.
I would just suggest you don't worry about it too much. I have not heard about this yet, and just because the Parks and Rec Commission recommended it doesn't mean it just happens.
I just want to make sure it doesn't end up on all the signs without it first coming back to some kind of larger discussion and public input probably.
All right.
May I really quickly say one?
No, I remembered
transportation. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Thank you. So we did have a presentation by Steve Smith about the bicycle group in Glenwood and about making the trails more user-friendly, the 6 and 24 trail, just some of the different connections around town, and strongly encouraged his group to continue doing what they've been doing, because I think they've been active and advocating without being overwhelming, I guess. I think they've straddled a really nice line. That kind of led naturally to the conversations about some of the other RAFTA connections. Coach Miller Drive, the GSES, Jared with the school had some input on those, obviously. And, this is right after we talked about, man, we're going to get $25 million knocked off a bridge, which is still a good thing. So I said, I think that's definitely something to continue to talk to Dan Blankenship about. Someone said they talked to Dan, Sandy Lowell talked to Dan at his Kiwanis Club, and Dan's like, oh, I don't know, this seems so easy, we could just do it. And kind of the conversation was, well, maybe citizens should talk to Dan then if they have a relationship with Dan, because maybe the alternative that we have been doing hasn't been working real well. But they're our friends, let's not beat them up over a couple connections, and I'm pretty sure we'll get some resolution on that. So that was that. We also kind of just went down the different priorities and where we're at, including the airport study. They're very interested in where we're at with that. There's transitioning to the airport commission this morning, airport board. That's their number 1 through 10 topic of concern. So I think as that progresses, that airport study, we just need to, if we can advertise what we're doing, communicate to the community that this isn't just, it's been out there since this summer in some way or form or another, and I think just people are interested to know what we're doing. So that's.
Any idea what the status is on that study at this point?
Yeah, I think it's only been about a month since I think we started it.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just we awarded the contract this summer, or in August I think we interviewed the people. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yes, there should be ample opportunity for public input and advertisement of public input.
Do you know if we'll have any by the end of this year?
Jen might know that.
I know that the consultants for the airport study are planning to come to your meeting on the 6th for a presentation, I think at 4 o'clock.
Oh,
great.
Then, thank you.
I might just add that I think they wanted to get some feedback from council before they held some of those public meetings.
Any further discussions? I actually had one question because we just got I apologize. I meant to bring this up during Deborah's. I would have brought it up under council comments, but I didn't think about it at the time. We just today or this afternoon we received our September report from Yvette regarding our taxes, and I'm really curious what it seems that we're looking pretty good up for the year. We're up almost 5% over last year. And my question is on the sales tax by category. What is the out of Glenwood Springs category? What is that? Because that is way up. That's up 68.47%. Is that our Amazon stuff?
Yeah, it's real stellar.
Okay.
Yeah, we would expect that to continue to go up. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Slowly, but I think we'll see growth in there.
That's excellent. And next to that, our next highest is, interestingly, 7th to 11th Streets, which is up 28% over last year. That's a pretty big deal.
For the month or the year?
That's just September of 2017. I'm sorry, so it's not year to date. Is it possible to get that one done year to date as well?
Yeah, we should have that report too.
And that was during the bridge closure.
I like it by the areas, so we know what Meadows is doing. And
we have that, don't we?
Yeah, we have it. I don't know if it reports year to date growth.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's just month to month, and yeah, it'd be great to see that. But yeah,
it'd be great to see like a 3-year run on that, because compared to last year, of course,
right.
We're up.
Right.
But
right.
compared to year before last, I'd be curious.
By area?
Yeah.
Well, by the downtown that was most affected by the bridge closure.
Okay.
Well, I think even Meadows was pretty seriously affected by the bridge closure. I didn't want to go to Meadows during the bridge closure because it's like...
I didn't even want to go home.
Right. Well, if you look at like eating and drinking places,
it's way up.
It's up. It's way up over 2017, but 2017 was down from 2016. But we're up over 2016 too. So
yeah,
more in the 10 to 11% range versus 24, but still up.
Right, right, but that's generally good news. We're heading in the right direction. So,
Much better than last year.
I'm not tired of winning yet.
And you know, there's also direct flights to New Jersey and Chicago.
From?
Well, from Eagle.
Okay.
So how do they pick that we want more people from Texas?
They don't like the Midwest.
Wait, I don't think we want to go there. We better.
And I have one thing.
We got something else. And then
We can stretch this to 11. Come on, guys. We got this.
Yeah, I just texted my family that they got to see me this week, so stop.
All right, slam it.
So are we done?
Yep.
We're adjourned.